Here are your Court News Ohio top stories in 5 minutes. Dating back to his time as a law clerk at the Ohio Supreme Court in 1971, Terrence O'Donnell has served under some of the state's brightest legal minds.
I had great mentors, Tom Moyer among them, John V. Corrigan, and Justice Corrigan as well.
So it was inevitable that one day he too would become a justice.
He's an employee of the school system. Or is he an employee of a different agency?
After 14 years as a judge at the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court, the busiest trial court in the state, and 9 years on the 8th District Court of Appeals, he took the oath to represent the state's High Court in 2003.
I cherish the trust that has been placed in me to make decisions which affect 11.5 million people. This is the true mark of success.
Over his 15 years on the Supreme Court, he's heard a wide variety of cases.
The question seems to be whether or not Bolins was acting as an agent of law enforcement at the time of the interrogation,
including several landmark ones.
He was offering to students evidence for and against evolution.
But his approach remained the same.
I hope that I have established a standard, and that standard is really consistency.
Given the state's constitutional judicial clause preventing judges from taking office after the age of 70, the grandfather of 8 will spend more time with his family when his term concludes at the end of the year. However, he has no intention of calling it a career.
It's difficult to say goodbye, but I expect there'll be new challenges and a new role, and I don't intend to simply just stop. I'll be engaged in the legal profession in another capacity.
For many children, there's a moment that shapes the rest of their lives.
When I read To Kill a Mockingbird and then saw Gregory Peck in that iconic role.
All men are created equal.
That's what locked it up for me.
It was then Mary DeGenaro decided to devote her life to the pursuit of justice and preserve everyone's rights, especially the accused.
I felt a connectivity to the founding generation because they knew what it was like to live in an era where the crown was the judge, jury, and executioner.
After 17 years on the 7th District Court of Appeals in Youngstown, she reached the pinnacle of public service in Ohio's judiciary when she was appointed as the 159th Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court.
The next Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court, Judge Mary DeGenaro.
How many people can say that they met with the governor of Ohio in the room where Abraham Lincoln learned he was going to serve our nation? That's like a movie.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much.
Justice DeGenaro already had a feel for the court after filling in for other justices 10 times during her appellate tenure. But her appreciation for that coveted bench only grew when she handled its duties every day.
It's not until you're in the job that you understand how much you love the work.
Mindful that she was part of the state's last line of appeals, she recognized the consequences for all cases, from the death penalty to a tax dispute involving the Cincinnati Reds that left many shaking their heads. Her most lasting memories will be of the relationships she forged on and off the bench.
When everybody's working towards a common goal, that makes it special.
It's a connection that'll continue for the justice, who will begin a new role as Chief Legal Counsel for State Auditor-elect Keith Faber in the new year. Even though she's leaving the court, she's still open for a return in the future.
Very excited about continuing my public service to the state of Ohio, and maybe I'll be back.
As a lover of the law, history, and talking to people, Ohio Supreme Court Justice Patrick Fisher brought all of those things together as part of a series of sit-down interviews with former justices. In Reflections from the Bench, Justice Fisher delves into the details of a justice's life before, during, and after the judiciary. Along with humanizing the former justices, the show is also an avenue for them to share insights and words of wisdom to prospective lawyers, judges, and citizens alike.
As you get a little older, you want to talk about your experiences and provide them for future generations.
The first 2 former justices featured are Paul Pfeiffer and Andy Douglas. And that's a look at Court News Ohio's top stories. Visit courtnewsohio.gov for the latest headlines on Ohio's courts. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter.